Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, Michelle. I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for being on my podcast, Unapologetic with You. And you know, you've really inspired me. We've met in one of the I think it was a
Hmm.
challenge, right? Some sort of challenge,
Yes,
and
yes.
you shared your vision and dreams. And now, like fast forward a few months, it's like you've realized a lot of it, and it's kind of like I'm following along. And you just mentioned that your book's going to go on Amazon soon. So, so I just want to introduce Michelle. She is her name is Michelle Griffith-Davis. She's a certified life coach and international speaker. She was born and raised in New York under the loving care of her mother, Ada, a single mother of six. Growing up in the inner city, Michelle's childhood had its challenges, but her mother frequently shared the inspiring story of Michelle's birth. You have to tell us about that. Always in concluding that same way. And Ada would state that from the beginning, she knew that Michelle was destined to be successful. In the midst of so many obstacles and negative examples, those words of affirmations had a powerful effect. The words of encouragement from her mum powered Michelle's drive to excel and lead to the
Yeah.
author becoming the first college graduate from her family. She graduated from
Mhm,
Long Island University with a dual degree in management and marketing. After
mhm.
graduation, she initially proceeded to have a successful career in business because she has always had a gift for inspiring others and love for helping people reach their potential. Her life's journey led her to becoming a minister, missionary, and life coach. Michelle has coached and guided girls and women throughout US, Africa, and Caribbean, equipping them
Mhm.
to discover their inner strength and follow their dreams. Along the way, she married Frank Davis, her husband of 30 years, and gave birth
Mhm.
to two beautiful daughters, Jacqueline and Kenya.
Mhm.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
amazing. You're going to tell us a lot more about the story up there. So you're in New
Wow.
York at the moment?
No, I live in Alabama. We are
Oh,
still being missionaries 30
oh
years later.
wow. Wow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you wrote the book, Born to Be, and that was a book
Yes.
that you mentioned that you wanted to, get more into mum's hands and people's hands. And that is an incredible book. You've got affirmations, and it's a coloring affirmation book for children.
Yes.
How old are the
Yes.
children who are reading this book?
I would say ages 3 to about 10.
3 to 10, right?
Yes. Elementary school.
Wow. Okay.
And, and the only reason why I would say that is because of my birth story.
Yep.
When I was born, my mom was an immigrant, and when I was born, a nurse spoke life over me and gave me an affirmation, gave my mom an affirmation for me that I was born to be great, and a silver coin. And literally, that silver coin ended up being my most treasured possession. It guided me my whole life. I mean, she would tell me this story because she promised the nurse that she would tell me. And even my mom didn't even know how much that story really anchored my soul and helped me to believe in myself.
Wow. So what was the challenge when you were born?
Well, when I was born, I didn't have a dad. My mom was 19 years old. And so pretty much I grew up on, government housing. I grew up in government housing on the government.
Mm,
And then having six siblings, that was a challenge too, because my mom was alone. And so I had to help her. And I had to help raise my brothers and sisters.
wow. Wow. So that's really
Mhm.
amazing. Your mom
Mhm.
is a very strong woman. So that
Absolutely.
so the affirmation was affirmation that the nurse had told your mom.
The affirmation that my mom gave me was that I was born to be great, that I was
Oh,
born with a piece of
wow,
silver in my mouth. And that
wow,
represented the silver coin.
wow,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
Okay. So from then on, you've you've been living with like your mum affirming a lot of things to you and telling you that you were great. So that's a thing like I really find really fascinating because being immigrant as well, first family generation, there was from a Chinese background standpoint, like parents are pretty strict and always telling you what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with you. And as you get older, you do all this personal development stuff. Like you wish that, I wish my parents had told me what was right with me and what was great. And so I really admire what you're doing in getting into the hands of the parents, getting them to shift the mindset, because what you tell your children is so important in their development going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really think it was God, my blessing, because my life, because it was so challenging, that coin, my mom telling me at an early age, it really strengthened my resolve to be successful. And also it helped with my negative self-talk. I knew I had to, you have to push on in life to do great, no matter what the circumstance, because it wasn't easy dealing with, poverty and in the neighborhood that I was growing up with. And so you're right. I think that God knew, not having a dad, not having, not having a lot of family and support, it was his blessing to me to give me that coin, because he knew I would hold on to it.
Yeah. It's because I was just thinking like, it's such a big difference when you have so much faith in a family. If you like a child that is born in a family that has a very strong faith and has like an understanding of the belief in them being great, and they instill it into their children, as opposed to a child who is like just doesn't have that foundation growing up. There's such a huge, it's just like, it's just incredibly huge in the ability and what they can actually do and how they trust and believe in themselves, right? Absolutely. And it's just a difference in the words you use. It's like what you're putting here, like affirmations. It's just simply shifting the words that you use, and how ridiculously simple that can be in really shifting how that child grows up and what they go on to accomplish.
Right. And that's why my mission is so important, Melody, because most people don't even know. It's not that they didn't grow up with an affirmation. I mean, they didn't even call them affirmations 50 years ago. Yeah. It was just a gift that I was given by God. And now my mission is to teach women and to help women understand that 5 minute or 2 second of you're special to their child, or you're great, or the focus even on character and not what they do even. Yeah. All of that makes such a huge difference in a child's development.
Yeah. And that's the truth. I mean, and I guess God is the greater truth, right? God knows when we created us that we had all, he created us in perfection and all these things. But it's only when we start going into like, when we're born, there's so many lies being fed into our minds of who we are not. And so tell me, like when I first met you, you were saying that you had this book and you didn't know how to actually bring it out and, make it to really, share your message out in a big way. And now you're saying that you go and get it on Amazon, you have all these amazing coaches and all these, support that's coming to you. So go through that journey of what happened. I mean, what shifted, and the amazing journey that you've had.
Right. Well, I just think that initially, just sharing your gift to the world, it's very complicated when you've never done it. And it's very hard. And you're looking, you and I met in a group, and you're listening to these women who are, oh, I made six figures doing this, and I made six figures. And they make it sound like it's easy, but it's still kind of impossible. You're like, wait a minute, that can happen to you, but that can't happen to me. And
Yeah.
so honestly, what started with me, I had started off small because, even though I was born to be successful, for me, honestly, my husband and I, we were in Africa. And while we were in Africa, he was injured. And he has been basically injured for the last 30 years. And so for me, that's how this whole thing started. That I was really out of desperation of how I'm gonna, take care of my family through, if things get worse, how am I gonna take care of my family?
Mm.
And it was out of, wow, I'm gonna have to retire soon. What am I gonna do? So as I was going through these groups and listening to people, the one thing the groups did help me to believe was that it was possible. But I also had to realize that I needed to find a way. Now, I'm not going to possibly maybe never make six figures, but how can I find a way to bring my mission to the forefront, to use me in the world? And so I remember Christmas, I just decided, I remember just praying and stumbling on the prayer of Jabez.
Mm.
And when you read the prayer of Jabez, you read his prayer basically he changes his whole life with a prayer.
Mm.
And
What
I
was it?
said, God, I want my life to be changed like the prayer of Jabez. Jabez prayed a prayer that changed his life. I want my life to be to change like Jabez. And I basically fasted that prayer for 21 days. I
Wow.
fasted and prayed that prayer. And in that, I prayed, God, please partner with me. Partner with me, God, and help Born to be attractive. Help me to get exposed. Help people to want to help me. And I just prayed that prayer every day for 21 days.
Wow.
And literally within the 21 days, I'm at my daytime job and I get a call from CBS. Now, when CBS calls you, the television station, you know,
You
it's
answer.
a big deal. And when I saw that it was CBS, I didn't even pick up the phone, Melody. I just thought, oh, wrong number for sure. So
Wow.
so the woman, when they called, she left a message. She said, call me back. Someone has put your essay, someone has written an essay about you and entered you into the 2021 Remarkable Woman campaign that we're having. And you are one of the 4 finalists.
Oh my God. Wow.
That happened within the 21 days of partnering with God. And I
Yeah.
did. The girl that put in the essay, I did know about it. Like she had mentioned it maybe months prior. This happened like in November, but I never thought about it. So when I spoke to CBS, they said, yes, we get hundreds and hundreds of essays. And it was unanimous. You needed to be a part of this. And for me, it was just such a victory.
Mm.
And it just really grounded my resolve to continue to partner with God. So I
Yeah.
get on CBS and I have my little book, and literally people started calling me, people started seeing me
Mm.
differently. And it's still one foot in front of the other, but the biggest victory and success is the fact that I'm getting my mission out there. And I
Yeah.
see God working in my life. And the more success you have, even with your friend like you, Michelle, come on my podcast, every single victory is bringing me closer to my dream.
Wow. Wow. That is so fascinating. And you have to share with me what that passage from the Bible about that one.
Oh, definitely. I will. Definitely.
But
I
I
could give.
really because it's so fascinating that you're talking about the power of prayer, because I was just reading Dr. Joseph Murphy's book on the power of subconscious mind, and he talks about how to use prayer. And I also noticed how, like in the past, because I'm not I didn't grow up with going to Bible study or anything like that. I did go to Catholic school. So I did learn, some principles and things like that, even though we come from a Buddhist family. But
Mhm.
I know that prayer can be so powerful. And it's funny how I've looked back now, I know that I've used it in my life, but I didn't understand what I was doing at that time and how powerful it is.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I think it's the prayer, but it's also the belief, the belief, the possibility that this can happen. I really think that desperation helped me to accomplish it, because I prayed a lot of prayers, but I didn't always believe a lot of my prayers. So nothing really happened. But I was so desperate, Melody, for God. I knew God could help me. I knew he could help me, and I knew that I needed his help. The prayer of Jabez is in First Chronicles 4, 9, and 10. And I knew having that example that a prayer changed his life, that was all I needed, because I was so desperate to getting my mission out there. And so when things started happening, I was just like, it just helped my faith to just continue to grow and to strive and to hold on to the partnership I had with God. And then the more I talked about it, the more I started seeing the fruit of it.
Right. Because you said last time that you've been on CBS for 9 times now.
9 times with a coloring book.
Oh my God.
And if you Google me, it comes up
Oh my God.
in Google. It's unbelievable. That's why you know it's God. It's laughable. Because since the book, there's a part 2 to my business now.
Yeah.
The part 2 is I'm getting coaching opportunities.
Wow.
Because there's so many women, and so many women who have that tug, that tingle of, I want to do something great, but how do I do something great with my kids and my husband and my full-time job? What can I do to get out there? And a lot of it, I mean, even for me, I didn't start until I was 59. I mean, it was, you're thinking about you're having that tug, but you keep telling yourself that I don't know what to do, I don't have time. And really, what I'm seeing is just the effort is more important than the talent, than the whatever that you're doing. The effort that you put is more important than what you have. Because I have this little coloring book, okay? And you cannot tell me all the great things I've done in my life that I land on CBS because of this book and what I'm doing in the community with kids and parents.
Show the book again. Show the book again. This is Born to Be, and
Yes.
it's the affirmation coloring activity book. I love the pictures. I love the pictures on that. I'll put a link into underneath for people to go and grab that book. I think, as you say, it's so true. Like, there's so many women who have this kind of desire to do something, but because of not knowing what to do, they put it aside. And what you're saying is like, to really look at that, to really look at that vision and say to themselves that it's possible. There is a way. There is a way somewhere,
There is a way.
right?
There is
And
a
you've
way.
asked for support, and it's come. It's
Mhm,
come. And that's the most
mhm.
fascinating, because I remember talking to you and says, I don't know how to do all this tech stuff. Like, I have no idea how to, put this together. And you said, like, you've got to work with someone's going to help you. And here you are, you've had support, you've got coaches, you've got people who are doing the submissions of that, whatever it is. And there are people reaching out, and they're,
Reach
CBS is
out.
like, one of the biggest channels, and they're getting your
Right,
voice, your message out there. All you have to do is just start talk. You got to just
right,
speak and talk. They're going to
right.
broadcast it, and they've broadcasted out to, I mean, the audience now is just, I don't know how many people watch your views. It's a phenomenal amount of people now.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And like I said, I just think that the resolve, I would help, I'm helping women just take the steps, that one step a day, you know, towards their goal, and to not minimize. When you think about it, do something with it, you
Mm,
know, because, being an entrepreneur is not easy. Your friends and family members, some people are not happy with you. And, even with the CBS, I had friends that, people were silent about it. And here I am in my house, like, what? Jumping up and looking at myself on television. And it's been, like I said, the hard part is doing everything for the first time, seeing yourself
mm,
on TV, even doing this. Oh, I remember months ago not being able to say one word, during an interview. But you do one interview at a time,
yeah.
one book sold at a time. It changes, it helps, it gets you closer to my goal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying, one at a time, one at a time.
One at a
And
time.
that's the thing.
Mhm,
Sometimes we think that, we have to look in a certain way, and it's just
mhm,
small things. And we just kind of think, oh, it's
mhm.
not going to make any difference. But as
Right,
they stack up over time, it does make a huge difference. You've got to start somewhere. And
right.
did you have some, like, a vision that you're looking at, like that you just, came to you, and you just kept on just looking at that and just holding faith that that vision would just come on?
Right. I do believe my prayer was the fact, included in my prayer was that
Mm,
my book would become global, and
mm,
that God will send me the people who would recognize where I could go with this book, and they would help me. And that's exactly what has happened to me, Melody. That's exactly what's happening. There are people that look at it and say, "Oh, that is just a coloring book." But
mm,
there have been some people who said, "Wait a minute, we can do
yeah.
more. She can do more with this." And those are the people who have reached out to me. And so I can honestly say my vision has been broad, but as people reach out to me, I am going towards what God wants me, I'm going to help the kids and parents that he wants me to help. You know what I
So,
mean?
yeah. Can I just go and, like, for people who are actually, doing, like, saying prayers, and they're feeling that there's nothing really, happening from it. Can you describe, like, when you're actually saying those affirmations, how do you feel, and do you have a vision that you actually keep in the forefront of your mind all the time? Can you go
Okay.
into
All
it?
right. The vision, I do believe in vision boards. And so, yes, I do have a vision board with affirmations and the vision of what I hope, like with the sales, with the people, everything that I pray is written out and it's on a board. And I literally pray that board every single day. Like
Mhm.
it's on my heart. It's connected to my heart. And so, yes, I do. There's different. I do believe in vision boards. I think if you write it down, that's what the Bible says. If you write it down, it could happen. Now, it may not happen in a time. I'm not going to say this is going to be, this has been a 90-day thing, or this is something that is on my heart to do as I go forward. But it can definitely happen. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you
You
have to,
know,
this was like a vision that was not just for the last, like you say, that 21 days, but this vision had been longer than that, had been sitting in your heart for much longer. But then you just made a decision that you were just like going to go for it, right? No matter what, it was just going to come to be.
it
That's the
was it
difference.
was absolutely. I decided to act on it,
Mm,
and find a way to bring it into fruition,
right.
because uh even though it had been on my heart, I had to also pivot a couple of times. I've this book, I've had a lot of fails with it. you know it took me 2 years to get to get to the point where it was going to be a coloring book, and it wasn't released until during COVID. And when I started showing it to people, that's when some people are very positive and some people, they were just neutral, and it was
Mm.
okay. It was okay.
So your vision initially, when you first had that seed of that idea, what was it? Like it wasn't exactly like the vision, like the drawing coloring book that you wanted right now. Was it something
No.
else? It was just to be able to share the power of affirmations and having that the positive mindset. Was that what it was?
Yes, it was just to do affirmation cards. But
Ah.
then as I went to the store, like I went to Dollar Tree one day, and Dollar Tree had 100 affirmation cards for $1. So I
Mm,
went through the process of going to a printer, and I came up with 25 affirmation cards, and they looked beautiful. And then I bought the packaging, and it was honestly, in order to sell them, I had to sell them for something like 19.99, but
mm,
no one wanted to pay 19.99. Everybody wanted to buy one for $1. And I
oh,
thought, wait a minute, the printing alone was so expensive. It was not a good way to get the affirmations out. And so I was talking to a friend one day, and she was like, Michelle, put it in a book. And I thought, wow, I don't want to be an author. I don't want to, I don't want to write a book about it. And then God said, do a coloring book. And ding, 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 ding,
there you
ding.
go.
Once I did the coloring book, it was straight. It was on. I mean, after I did the coloring book, I had a school in Alabama approach me. They bought 750 copies. And I thought, I just knew I had hit the jackpot. I just knew it. I knew
That's
it was God, you know?
That's amazing how that happened, isn't it? Like, sometimes we think it's what it is. And then as we go through that process, something shifts and then we have to morph it. And that's the thing
Right.
when I talk to a lot of people, like, sometimes I say, well, I have this vision, I have this thing. You have to get started and make those steps
Have to get
in
some.
order to refine and find your way through.
Exactly.
You can't come
Exactly.
up with a perfect plan and then think that that's it. You have to
Oh,
be willing to move and shift with it, but you've got to make that first step and take that action.
exactly. And that's why I think that you have to focus more on the effort. And
Mm,
honestly, it was figuring that out.
yeah,
Even to this day, the effort of working this plan is
yeah,
more important than even the book itself,
yeah,
because we are people who want to be comfortable. And it's most people don't want to put themselves out there. I
yeah.
didn't want to put myself out there. If there was, and so you're right. The vision, you have to be willing to walk through the vision. And if you want it bad enough, you will find a way. It will
Mhm.
come to you.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And I love how it's changed to a coloring book because it combines like, that visionary with
Right.
like, the auditory as the kids are saying it to themselves. They're seeing that vision and it's
Yes.
really, making it so much more powerful. And
Yes. Yes.
God probably, God knew how it was going to be much more effective. And he gave you that vision. So that was just, it's just like, so amazing. And I guess that's
Yes.
why it's so much more powerful to have that. And
Mhm.
people, seeing that the values of something is just so different about that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and now you're saying that because you have the next phase is something that you have some people approaching you, partnering up with you to take that to the
Yeah.
next level.
Yes. Yes. And so, eventually I'm going to come up with a second edition. And I have another book that's going to be coming out in a few months. And I had a marketing company approach me to help me go to the next level. And so it's blessed, that's for sure.
Wow.
And also helping women. I'm now also getting help coming up with the system that I use to help other women not get stuck in the details because it can be so
Yes.
frustrating,
Yes. Yes.
to empower them so that they could walk through with a friend so that their
Mhm.
dream, they could give birth to that dream.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. I love how you're
Yeah.
saying that, you walk through that with someone. It's so, having that vision by yourself is such a lonely process.
Right.
And when you start to attract, people and who see that and share that with you. And as you say, it's like giving birth to that. Everybody is kind of like, I think of that word, like, it's kind of like a dream doula. Everybody needs a dream doula. To
It
someone to
really is.
give birth.
It really is. And the other thing is, you find that it's not about money. The money
Mm,
will come if
yes.
you get if you get everything that you need.
Mm,
And you will get everything you need if you're willing to walk through it.
yeah. Yeah. You've got to inspire people first.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh,
And
I
serve
love,
and serve them.
yes, and serve them. And
Mhm.
I love following your story because it's kind of like, how we're always so inspired by other people who've just like, achieved their dreams. And it helps us
Mhm.
to believe in ourselves a bit more, helps us believe that, there is possibility in the next level and how you actually open up um, that faith, you know, with with themselves. And it's just a fascinating story to follow. So I love talking to you every time. It's like, oh, this is what happened. It's like, this is what happened. It's kind of like it's blowing up, each time, the next level, next level. And it's just such a beautiful thing to watch.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
thank you so much for being on. And your website is empowertodream.com.
www.empower the dream. And any woman that is listening and want to work with me, they could email me at Coach Michelle Davis at gmail.com.
So I'll pop the details underneath the podcast. And they could, so the women that you work with, do they have to be mums, or it's just whoever has some
It's
sort of
it,
vision and dream?
whoever. I'm born to serve. It's
Right.
anybody. I'm talking to a lot of moms, but I'm also talking to now single women and
Mm.
married women. So it's everybody.
And I think in this time, during the COVID, it's so important as well,
Right.
because everybody is like, it's kind of like shaking everybody up and looking at
Right.
things a new perspective. And especially when we have so much instability in terms of the job market.
Right.
And
Right.
this is a great catalyst for people to start thinking about, going out there and doing something that they really, are passionate about.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
yeah. So thank you so much for your time. Your children's
You
story,
welcome.
and I have to go and watch those CBS, you know, interviews and things like that. So like, it's just like an amazing thing to know that you are talking to someone who's been on the TV or so for like, 9 times. And
Yeah,
that's probably like one of your wildest dreams, right?
unbelievable. It's on CBS 42. If you put in Michelle Davis, CBS 42, you Google it, it'll pop up.
Davis, CBS 42.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Awesome. Wow. Tell me, first time when you got interviewed, how are you feeling?
I was so overwhelmed with joy, and it was just, I was so overwhelmed because number one, I had really manifested it because I was praying about it for 21 days for God to give me exposure. So when it happened, I was confident that I belonged there. So I didn't feel nervous. I felt just excited that here I am, a regular person, months prior, even meeting you, feeling lost, didn't know what I was going to do with my little coloring book. And now I'm with a CBS reporter being interviewed. And I just thought the whole thing was just, it was just a testimony of just being faithful, and just, I felt like it was God giving me a kiss saying, yes,
Yeah.
this
Wow.
is
I
where
love that.
you belong. This is who you are. And I'm so glad that it was a kiss of persevering. Like, thank you for pushing through and persevering.
Do you feel like as if God was watching you right at that time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because afterwards, I mean, he keeps sending me people. Like I have been on so many, I mean, people see you differently once they start seeing success. Success loves success. And this was
Yeah.
success for me because I've just been this, mom, wife, taking care of my husband, missionary. I had never really done anything in my life that will land me on television. And so to finally, for me, it was just, it was such a blessing to finally, it was a stamp of you matter, your mission matters. It sounds like, even though it felt so small to me, the world now gets to hear about my mission. And it was just such a, like I said, it was just a kiss from God, because it also has given me the vision of, it was a stamp of approval that this is going to go somewhere. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm so open to where it's going. And I keep getting phone calls, I keep getting help. So I'm just excited about the ride and the journey and the people that I'm going to help and the kids that are going to be affirmed. And, I'm just so excited about it.
Do you feel like it's like you're surrendering to the flow? It's just like, it's like, you're saying yes to things and just surrendering.
Yes, I would say yes, because, when you first come up with the idea, you're thinking one way, you're thinking about the money, you're thinking about the details of the business, you're thinking about how is this going to be. And it was hard and it was frustrating, and you share your dream with people, and some people are not going to, they weren't responding well. And so, or they wouldn't order my book. They wouldn't even order it. They'll say, so you're going through thinking that you have to have everything, all your ducks in a row. And then you find out you just really got to create an opportunity you just got to put yourself out there, because so many of the people that are going to call you, like most people are not going to pay you to be on their podcast or to speak at their school. They're not going to offer you money. So you have to just allow yourself to be surrendered So no, I don't say no when someone says, can you please come to my school, or can you speak on Zoom, or can you do this? Because I understand every step, every time I serve, I'm getting closer to my goal.
I love that. I think that is
Yes.
so important.
Right.
Opening the channels up.
Right. After creating your own, yes. And I could not have created CBS because that was out of my hands. But I really do believe God put my essay on top of all those hundreds of essays so that they would call me. I was praying about it.
Yeah.
I was fasting about it. It was on my heart. I was begging him for something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So that is so fascinating. And I know that next time I talk to you, it's going to be something else. Are you going to be on Oprah?
Well, I'm taking my daily steps. Here it is. We're on a Sunday night. I could be watching TV. I'm doing the work though.
Yes.
And so I want to encourage people, those daily small steps are going one step at a time.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. And it's such a pleasure talking to you. Always. You're such a beautiful woman. And
thank you. So are you.
Heart to serve. And I love your smile. So keep smiling, and I'll pop the details of your book in, and your website, and if people and also your contact details as well.
Okay.
People can reach out to you. So thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Goodbye.
I'll just stop the recording for a moment.
Okay.